Dawn Hunter, and I am with Mr. Mike Greenspan, Dr. Mike Greenspan, and he is the CEO and founder of Sambria Pharmaceuticals, which is the nationwide, leader in topical over-the-counter pharmaceuticals that all of us estos and permanent makeup artists and medical providers use. And we're having this conversation because there's so much confusion in the market about what's legal, what's not legal, what should you be using. There's a lot of myths out there, and there's a lot of, quite honestly, illegal products that you could get in trouble if you're using. And so I was so thankful we got Mike, when he's running around doing his thing. He was nice enough to give us his time today. So we'll keep it right to the point. So Mike, can you please tell us about yourself and what made you get into this anesthetic market?
Okay, thanks, Dawn. Nice to meet everybody. Um, okay, so actually, my background is more in sports, athletics, and chiropractic, like Dawn. Um, but initially, the idea for this product was actually supposed to be a joint pain product, and the idea was initially before we went down the road of the education. Uh, I was looking for a way to drive lidocaine, which everybody knows is this powerful numbing agent, into the joint. So when people had bad low back pain or bad, uh, elbow or back or shoulder, whatever, knee pain, they could put this cream on, and the lidocaine would do its job, which it is known to do, and off label that is a very common use. You see it all over the market, actually advertised on TV. But our use is to use it for the skin, to numb the skin prior to our different procedures. So um, what I did was, in order to develop this more effective product, I came up with a way to make the skin temporarily more permeable. Because benzocaine, for example, benzocaine doesn't penetrate the skin naturally by itself. Benzocaine needs some way to actually get through the skin. Where the lidocaine, if you leave it on the skin for a very long period of time, or you occlude it, you put plastic wrap or something on, eventually it will get into the skin. But the benzocaine and tetracaine aren't really the same way. So initially I came up with a way to drive more of the lidocaine in a big bolus into the skin more rapidly in a larger amount so that it would be more effective. So it would start working quicker. It would last longer. It would be more effective because more of the medication would get into the skin. And then here's the very unique feature that we have that nobody else has in the world. We've got 11 different patents on the formulation, the system, the technology, and everything. So what we do is, in addition to make the skin temporarily more permeable and driving the lidocaine or the lidocaine, benzocaine, tetracaine, all that into the skin, is we have another effect, which we call a depot effect. It's an effect that actually holds the lidocaine or the other numbing agents in the skin, and they're what are called lipophilic, meaning fat loving. So this fat loving combination of chemicals surrounds, let's say, the lidocaine, for example. It pulls it through the skin, and it rests on the top layer of the skin under the epidermis. So the top dermal layer is really a fatty pad, and that's where all the nerve endings are. So we found a way to, with this lipophilic, this fat loving chemical combination, to keep the lidocaine, the benzocaine, the tetracaine, all these different canes right there on the nerves for an extended period of time. So compared to everything else in the market that goes into the skin and then eventually goes through the skin into the bloodstream, which can be dangerous, ours doesn't do that in studies we've proven. Ours will actually stay in the skin for an extended period of time. More of the product will stay in the skin. So you have more lidocaine or benzocaine and tetracaine in the skin at any one given period of time, sitting right on that fatty layer at the very top of the dermis where the nerves are. And it's just going to all sit there in a big bolus, working those nerves, making you more numb. Here's the
Ah,
really cool thing about it. As Dawn pointed out, we compete against all of these products that are imported from China. I hope by now we've
oh
all
my
learned they're not our ally. They're not our friend. So they're sending these very dangerous products to our country. They're not interested in, like, our FDA, who's interested, we hope is interested in our health and our welfare. The
Right.
Chinese aren't very interested in our health and our welfare. So all these products that they're sending over to our country and flooding our market,
Mhm.
hey, estheticians and dermatologists and permanent makeup artists, all you got, use these great products. They'll make you really, really numb. So what that they might kill your client or your patient? So much that
Right.
they cause some kind of dangerous problem. So what
Mhm.
that they're not made under any kind of healthy or sterile or safe condition? Who cares? We're gonna make it really highly concentrated. We're gonna sell it to you, American, who we don't care about. We're gonna
Right.
load you up full of this stuff. We're gonna numb their skin. That's all you care about. We know you don't care. That's their attitude. So you're
Mhm.
buying into their attitude. I don't care about my patient. I just want to make money and I'll numb them up too. But I don't think most of you really believe that. I know I
Yeah.
don't believe it. I know Dawn doesn't believe it. That's why I'm here.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that was a
So,
big thing. We're actually fighting. We are fighting this war, and
mhm,
this is part of the war we're fighting
yeah,
against this other country who's sending this dangerous stuff over. All these knockoff products you're getting are made in China, and they
yeah,
don't care what they're putting in your body and your clients' bodies. So if
right.
you're putting in your client's body, you should keep using Chinese products. If you want
Yeah,
to support China, then you should continue using their products. If you want to
right,
support us, you want to make sure you have a product that is safe, effective. It's going to do the job. It's not going to harm people if used properly. Then you do something like this. That's it.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's
And
it.
so Sambria, let's talk about those regulations a little bit
Mhm.
because some people watching this may not really know. And I'm always shocked, and I'm not surprised because the beauty industry is ripe with mythology.
Yep.
Myth that you can do this and you can make $1 million by just buying this gadget, and you don't have to know any business skills. Myth number two is that you just learn a technique, open up a pretty shop, and everybody's going to come. There are all these myths about the business
Mhm.
and everything that it's no fault. I think most beauty providers and we all want to do well. Everybody wants to do a good job. They're not trying, but they get caught up with these myths, and trainers as well, which are unregulated most of the time. There's no regulation on trainers. And so it just perpetuates this cycle of I can do whatever I want. I'm rogue. I know, and then they go online to Amazon and they see all these numbing creams. And I remember distinctly one in particular about 4 years ago. I think I called you about it, and it was actually out of Korea. They found it was coming out of Korea, South Korea, and
10.56% lidocaine.
yeah,
I just had the
yeah. You
product
remember
called.
that one? Yeah, and the epinephrine in it was
Yep.
added. Didn't
Oh, and
even
the
disclose.
epinephrine was about 10 times the amount that is allowed. It's really dangerous to do that to you.
Very dangerous. And I remember distinctly calling you because I went, there's a trainer who's very famous in PMU who's actually selling this to her
Yep.
students. So I called her and she didn't even know. She was like, "Oh, well, it works really well." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's gonna kill a patient." It's like so. Anyway, that's the madness of this industry, right? Even the trainers don't even know. They just see it online and they think that the FDA's approved it, that if Amazon sells it, it's going to be okay when that's not necessarily. So let's talk about the actual regulations and why is it so dangerous to go outside the regulations that
Okay.
are, here in the US?
The way they came up with the rulings. So this whole process started back in the 70s or 80s. The first real ruling was in 80. It's in either 82 or 83. They finally made the final ruling this past year. Since
Wow.
83, it's been a tentative final monograph. Monograph is the rule, another word for rule. So from 83 until now, it's been a TFM, a tentative final monograph. They finalized it this year. So how did that happen? Well, they do an enormous number of studies on thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and they do blood drawings and they find out at different percentages if you apply this much in this period of time, with these kinds of people and under these particular conditions, and then we draw their blood repeatedly over some period of time like we've done in our studies.
Yeah.
They would use this data, this information, to see at what level does it become dangerous and high risk. So what's the threshold? And the way they came up with the rules, like 4% is supposed to be the highest lidocaine,
Mhm.
20% the highest benzocaine, 2% the highest tetracaine. Put these by doing dozens or hundreds of these studies with thousands of people across all different, a complete diverse grouping of people. And so they use that data to determine uh, what's safe, what's effective. Um, they do see too. They do have an interest. Obviously, these are medications that are also used in legit, in healthcare settings. So it's important that these medications really do their job. So the studies, they safety studies and efficacy studies, and they do all of this work to find out be the most effective, safest. What are the limits that you stay within? And that's where they came up with these different policies. And there's
Got it.
really, if you look there, like there's no agenda. There's no one big pharmaceutical company who owns lidocaine who might be manipulating the studies. So all this
Right.
stuff that's been here by the FDA, it really is being done for our health and positive effect benefit. There's no motive for some weird hidden agenda. So it's just right there in
Right.
front of you. Yeah. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's where we get
exactly.
this from. Mhm.
Gotcha. So if we're losing visibility a little bit, Mike, on you, they can still hear you. I don't know if maybe the Wi-Fi is a little weird there, but yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand that this is actually regulated substance, that this is a drug. It's not something that you just, and I think in the beauty profession, they get so lax sometimes, they don't realize that it's black and white. If you're using something that's illegal, something happens to your client and you're the one that's going to get in trouble or the doctor's going to get in trouble. It's just black and white. There is no gray. It's not like maybe. And
That's a good.
so,
That's very right, and we've seen it. We've
yeah,
seen it get in real trouble too
yeah,
when they
and
when
and
they when they
so
broke the rule. Huh.
right, exactly. And I, one of the people that I interviewed actually, who's on here, he's a attorney for in Texas for medical malpractice and what people get med spas in trouble, and we were talking about all of this stuff and that, there's rules and there's rules. And when it comes to this kind of substance that, because lidocaine, as in high doses, can cause what, heart arrhythmias and all kinds of things. And they
Or
use it
it
for,
can cause hypovolemic collapse. It can cause your respiratory system to completely lock down. That's the big danger. And there is a risk if you use very high doses of it or use it in very large surface areas.
right,
That is a
right.
very real risk, and you're in a
Yeah.
little bit of trouble if that happens. They're not just going to slap your wrist.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I think in the permanent makeup or aesthetics, they think, oh, it's a small area. I'm just doing brows or I'm just doing the face. Maybe it's not as risky, but it's still, remember, your charts can always be deposed, and your records can be deposed. So you never know. I always say just be bulletproof. Use what's legal. Use things like Sambria Pharmaceuticals, and and use the things that are the very strong and powerful in your patients. And that you can sleep at night. You're not buying crazy stuff online or having that risk. And I've seen it even firsthand when we had our med spa. I was so glad our physician was there because he did an injection of lidocaine numbing, and the client tapped out, just passed out completely right in front of him. Now that was an injection, and he managed it, but still, if you get that one lady on your table, sensitive, and you're using illegal stuff, especially that epinephrine. Talk about how dangerous epinephrine can be outside the
Definitely.
parameters.
Oh, it stops the blood flow to the area. A lot of very dangerous things can happen. There's a reason why your body is set up to bring blood throughout your entire system. You have a circulatory system that goes out to your fingertips. Your blood is what brings oxygen to every part of your body. So
Yeah.
if you really overload on a chemical like that, you
Mhm.
can you can cause permanent damage to let's say fingertips, or whatever area you put this on. It's really nice. People like seeing that blanching effect. Oh, I'm
Yeah.
glad that blanching effect is really working. Yes,
Yeah.
it is. But what do you do? What's causing that blanching effect? What's causing
Right.
that blanching effect is there's no blood going there. Now, temporarily, if it's just a small little bit, so
Hmm.
you can do the procedure, that'd be great.
Right.
But again, you get your hands on one of these products that
Hmm.
is not made under the normal auspices of FDA monitored, and monitored facility. You have one of these facilities, these Chinese groups or whomever, who
Right.
make something 10 or 20 or more times to really create that effect.
Yeah.
You're going to cause permanent damage. Your
Yeah.
risk of causing permanent damage, I should say, is very high.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, no, here you're trying to, help somebody become more beautiful. And now you're
Yep.
going to cause them some kind of damage to their skin. It just doesn't make
Absolutely.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And also the fact that they put it in some of the creams without identifying that it's in there.
Oh
So
yeah, they
you
do
use
that.
it.
They put
Yeah,
all kinds of things in without identifying what's in there.
right.
We've tested a lot of these products. There's crazy stuff, including what we find more than anything when we do samplings of some of these Chinese knockoff products.
Yeah.
They're really, really loaded with toxic heavy metals.
Wow.
Heavily loaded with toxic heavy metals.
Oh
That's
my,
a very common thing that we find when we do a third party analysis test.
my goodness.
Yep.
So
That's
be safe, buy local, support the U.S. economy and the U.S. businesses, and also with providers like Mike and his business, Sambria Pharmaceuticals. Now, where'd you get the name Sambria?
so my daughters are Samantha and Brianna.
Oh, okay,
We
okay.
got the, and you know, it's interesting because it sounds like a pharmaceutical company's name,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
but I love the
I thought the
story
same
behind
thing.
it. That's a
Hey, I
great
remember one
story.
day I just, we were just kicking names around. I said the name and as a friend was there and just started laughing and said, "Wow, that's a pharmaceutical company." I said, "It is, it really is." And there we were, Sambria
That's it.
Pharmaceuticals.
Just like that.
Let me tell you what's interesting.
Yeah,
My older daughter, Brianna, from the the Bria part of Sambria, has recently joined our team. Um, Dawn knows, I had a health issue for the past few years.
yeah,
Uh, so I was really overseeing all of our social media. I had a group of team overseeing it, but I
yeah,
was down for a while. So we
yeah.
let it lax. My daughter's actually joined the team as our social media manager now. So you're
That's
going to see a
wonderful.
lot going on. She's doing a real lot of good stuff on there.
Oh, good, good. And that's good to get the word out and know. And I'm glad that she's on board. There's nothing like having your daughter join the team. That's
Great.
wonderful.
Yeah, it's
What,
great.
a quick question on so it's the way that it's packaged. Can we talk about the BLT and why is it packaged separately? Kind of like what I call the dipstick. Remember the candy sticks that we used to
Yep.
eat? The
Yep. Yep.
dipstick.
Yep. Yep.
And what's the reason behind that? And why is it important for it to be presented that way? So they understand that. And then also, I wanted to ask you about the tea tree that you add in there and why you add that in there. And then we can, yeah, so let's talk about the packaging and
Okay.
that.
Okay. That's a real good one actually. It gave us initially a really strong unique advantage. Of course, we had knockoffs after that.
Yeah,
They didn't have any of the delivery system. They had none of the technology in their product, so the knockoffs all fell aside. But the reason why we did it that way is you cannot legally um, put two canes in one container unless it's through a compound pharmacy by a prescription, and there's got to be a specific reason, and it's for one
yeah,
patient, a certain
right.
30 different
For a
suppliers.
client.
So
Hmm.
what we did was we made we have a one packet of lidocaine, one of benzocaine, one of tetracaine. What we found is that, and I'm explaining it in a way that the FDA is comfortable with us explaining it.
Yeah.
We found is that people out in the field combine the three themselves, and they find themselves with a really, really strong compounded product. So
Got
we
it.
provide an over-the-counter product. Each
Hmm.
one is registered. So each single benzocaine in our packet, each single lidocaine, and each single tetracaine sachet, they all come in these sanitary single-use sachets.
Hmm.
So each one is registered with the FDA separately. Each one is its own drug. And then if people determine, like BLT, since they know the moniker, wow, this might be something great if I put them all together. We
Hmm.
hear that that's a very common practice.
Got
And
it.
we hear that that common practice gives it such a significant advantage because the benzocaine starts working within minutes. So they're
Right.
getting the initial onset that no other product on the market gives them. They
Yeah.
can compared to any other, we're very comfortable saying, because we've done so many comparative tests against every real competitor, put
Yeah.
the product up against anybody else. It's not even a comparison.
Hmm.
Product starts working in less than half the time some of the most effective products work.
Hmm.
Um, Even though our percentages are within the legal limits, because we have the delivery technology, we make the skin more permeable temporarily. It dumps, that's designed to dump the entire amount of the concentration of the drug into the skin. A lot
Hmm.
of times with a lot of these compounds, you might notice there's like grit and crystals left on the skin.
Right.
That
Right. Yeah.
well, that's the lidocaine that's not doing
Not
anything.
going in the skin. It's on the
That's on
skin.
the skin. So they have all this extra. I mean, yeah, it's great. It's sitting in your skin. It's not doing anything.
Right,
So
right.
with us, we're at 4% because we've gone up against 10% lidocaine products,
Hmm.
and we had one. It was really funny. We had one doctor that told us. She actually called us. She was from Alaska, and
Hmm.
she was a really great customer for a long time. She called up really angry one time saying, after all these years, I've trusted you guys and you've lied to me. I can't believe you'd lie to me. Why would you
Oh
lie to me?
no.
Yeah, and I asked, what did we, because she wanted to talk to me. I mean,
Yeah,
to everybody, I need to talk to the CEO about this. I'm like, wow, okay, it must be a really important thing. So I asked, well, I'm sorry, what are we lying to you about? Well, I talked to my compound pharmacist who I go to, and he said, there's no way a 4% lidocaine can do what a 10% lidocaine does. It can't. So here's what you're doing. You're putting 10% in yours. I know it. And I
yeah,
asked, you really think that my company is going to spend more money to cheat you by giving you more stuff and risking us going to jail?
right.
That Are you sure that's what we're doing? Well, that's what my compound pharmacist said. And I said, well, maybe your compound pharmacist lost your business to our 4%. Well, he
Yeah.
did. Oh, well, maybe that's why he's saying such bizarre things. Because most people aren't going to spend more money so that they can in business so they can lose money and then risk going to jail at the same time. That's not how
Right.
business really works.
Not a
Right.
business model. Yeah, like I said, it's very black and white. Even the doctors don't know, right? They get confused and
She was
sometimes.
confused. She couldn't. Yeah, she just couldn't. She couldn't rationalize how is your 4% so much stronger than a 10. We get this so many times. You wouldn't believe how many. I mean, it's every week we get. How does the 4% lidocaine do this? Or how does your BLT? I get a BLT and it's 20%, 10%, 8%, and yours
Right,
is 24 and 2.
right.
I did a split face. I don't know how is that working like that? And
Yeah,
some of them actually are upset because they
yeah,
don't get it. They can't figure it out. So
yeah,
we just tell them, look, why don't you just be happy? You're getting a product at a great price. Is it working great for you?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm concerned. Maybe there's something in it there shouldn't be. No, we're manufactured in the United States by an FDA monitored facility. So the
Yes,
FDA shows up and goes through all our records a
yeah,
couple times a year. Yeah.
yeah.
So,
So they
but
couldn't really put a
that's how
product.
effective it is.
Yeah, they wouldn't because of the way you have the drivers and the formulation. I mean, also the carrier matters, like how
It's a
you
big
actually
deal.
taste and all those things. That's why some products work better for some people than others. And this one is, it goes in like butter. And I like the fact that it's not gooey. It's like a
Yeah.
nice gel. So you clean it off and it cleans really well. Some of the other ones you see, they leave a film, they're gooey, they have all kinds of weird things with them. So, I mean, I'm a fan. So let's end this on the tea tree oil. Tell me about the tea tree addition to the pack.
All right. So, I spent 2 years developing this formula. Like this didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So I looked at every aspect of, and again, if you remember in the beginning, I thought I was coming up with some great muscle and joint rub.
Right.
So
Right.
I was looking at like Ben
Like
Gay and
biofreeze.
BioFreeze. That's
Yeah.
exactly, I mean, those were the competitors to me. So I
Right.
was looking at these and I'm like, these things just stink. You smell
Yeah.
so bad. What am I
Yeah.
going to do? So we looked at all these different things. Number one, how do I make it so it's smooth and creamy, like you're saying? Like this nice skin gel. Like you rub it on, it feels good, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
you
Yep.
it's like you want to rub it on your hands. It feels great. It's fun to play with. It feels
Yeah.
really soft and satiny.
Yeah.
So there are chemicals that we put in there that created that soft, satiny kind of feeling. There are things we did to increase the temporary, increase in the permeability of the skin. How we alter the pH, how we alter the gradient as it goes through the skin. Different things that we do to create that effect. There's things that we looked at to create that lipophilic effect. I thought, how do I keep this at the nerves? What do I like? How do I keep this at the exact area it's supposed to work? So it's not just all throughout the system.
All
Like
over the place. Yeah.
yeah, so we looked at that. So then we came up with, and it's funny you said a gel-like feeling because the component that we use to hold it in that top dermal layer is called a hydrogel or a polyacrylamide gel. So it's
Mm.
three different things, and it is when we make the product, we make that gel separately, then we mix the gel in. So it's really
Mm.
funny pointing that
Oh
out.
yeah.
It is a
Yeah.
gel-like formula.
Yeah.
And that's the gel-like formula holds it there. Now, I'm going through all these things. How do you come up with a product? You want to know about the tea tree oil. So one of the remaining things was the feel and the smell. It really mattered. And I noticed what a big deal that was. And when I would ask people and do surveys, hey, what do you like about this? What do you like about that? What don't you like? Everybody always said the same thing. This stuff
Mhm.
stinks. I hate it. So I just went through every different type of I can't think of what the term is. What did he call the
Scent,
term?
different
Yeah,
kind of
every
scent.
scent, but yeah, he gave it as all factory, I don't know, something that is all factory sensory something. But the scent, we went through all these different products that would provide a nice scent, and we found one that seemed to, I would say, over 90% of the time, probably better than that. Most people with that light amount, we put a very little bit in, but that little bit, that light amount of the tea tree oil, we really are using that only for the scent. That is, I know there's other uses, but we're using it for that. And we use a small amount. Without it, um, all these
Yeah,
products smell
yeah.
chemically
They
terrible, horrible.
yeah, they're not that they sound very they smell just kind of but also it's an antibacterial, right? Like I mean, tea
Yep.
tree oil is
Yeah,
natural
it is.
antibac. So
Yeah, there's a
you chose
handful. There are a few.
yeah,
There are a few antimicrobial agents in our product. So,
yeah.
and we do every batch gets microbial tested. Every batch gets tested for heavy metals. Every
Hmm.
batch gets tested for the percentage of the active pharmaceutical ingredient that's in it.
Hmm.
So during the whole process, every batch gets tested 3 times: at the
Yeah.
very beginning of the run, at the very middle of the run, at the very end of the run. This way, we make sure that it maintains all the way through an even percentage. It's 4%.
Hmm.
So even after the expiration that we're allowed, we had to do a formal test, a stability test. There's a
Yeah.
6 month, a 12 month. There's like 2 years worth of stability testing you're supposed to do, which we've done.
Hmm.
And that gives it its 2 year or 3 year expiration date.
Yeah.
So what we found was what was really cool. Most of the competitive products, by the 2 or 3 year expiration, they had gone from 4%, some down to as low as 2. The
Mm.
lowest ours ever went was 3.6%
Wow.
after 3 years, not 2 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
year after
Yeah.
it's expired, and you're allowed a 10% variation above and below. So
Hmm.
the product was still considered acceptable, as far as from an efficacy standpoint, for the FDA.
I love
So,
that. I love that.
so
And the insight, one of the reasons I wanted to talk with you is for people to understand how much work went into a real legitimate product. And also the other thing I like about the packaging, it's single use. So as far as, what am I trying to say? The cleanliness or the
yeah, sanitary. You keep a
yeah,
sanitary work environment, which
sanitation.
is what you
Yeah.
guys are working to do.
Yeah. You just,
We look at that.
exactly. So you open it, it's single use per client, which makes it just completely airtight in that direction. People
Yep.
that have bottles, creams, like some of them you see online, you have to open the top. As soon as it's exposed to the air and you've done one dip in there, you're getting contamination. And
Okay.
even with squeeze bottles, right? You take the cap off, it's exposed to the air, it's decomposing, number one. And also you're exposed it to bacteria. There's no way around it. They've tested, I mean, there's just
That's
no
right.
way. So
No, you're
all
right.
these ones we see, like often beauty providers, in a pinch, they go on Amazon. They're like, let me just go to Amazon and go, and they find the ones that it's all the open containers. It's all the ones that are, squeeze tubes. There's nothing like what you're selling, that they can even see. I don't know if you have it on Amazon. I know that I'm going to put a link to your website after this, but the fact is, once you get those individual packets, you realize, and also that I like about it too, is you can take them off and take them apart. So let's say you're doing an eyeliner procedure, which we don't want to put the benzocaine on. You
Yep.
can use the little, now it's not, I know it's not recommended for on eyes, but around the eye area, where you're just kind of going around if you're doing a microneedling or a
Yeah.
laser.
Do you mind if I address that real
Yeah, of
quickly?
course, please.
Okay. So I've heard 3 times now over the years this bizarre comment
Mhm.
that whatever they mean by their terminology, this is pH balanced. Whatever
Right.
they're supposed to mean by that, that
Yeah.
means that it can be put, if it's okay to get it in the eye. It's
Right.
not. This stuff's not going to blind you, but it
Yeah.
doesn't matter what the pH is. as far as what lidocaine will do to a degree. I mean, of course, the pH is going to affect it. If you have like many of the products, Emla Cream, I think LMX, all have a pH of over 9. They're really alkaline, and that's why they
Yeah.
cause like redness and burning. You wouldn't
Right.
want to get that in your eye, but you don't
No.
want to get any kind of lidocaine product in your eye. It
No.
just you're gonna you're gonna need to go to the hospital. You're gonna need to get it cleaned out. So
Yeah.
our product, like any other product, as long as you're really careful, you can
Hmm.
use it around your eye. Don't get
Yeah.
it in your eye. Just be very,
Right.
very, very careful and pay attention to what you're doing. But
Yep.
don't, just like you're saying. So here's the initial concept of this was to be a variety package where
Hmm.
people could choose. Hey, I'm going to use the benzocaine. Hey, I'm
Right.
going to use just the tetracaine. Hey, I'm going to. So that was the initial concept, and then
Yeah.
people just started grabbing it and mixing it and saying,
Right.
"Got a compounded drug that blows away everything else that's out there."
Right, it's a cocktail
So,
now. So yeah, and the eye area is it's mainly for the two areas, which is a permanent makeup eyeliner, and also when they do laser removal for eyeliner in the
okay.
doctor, going right on the razor's edge, right on the lash line. And you have to be really careful. When I teach the permanent makeup, I have a big saline flush right by me the whole time. And every time we're working on that, we're flushing the eye constantly.
Oh, good,
And I've
great.
never had one problem using products when I'm doing eyeliner because you have to get real close, but you have to be careful, like you said. But at the same time, I flush the eye the whole time. And I did go to an eye surgeon. I asked him about what do you use, and he
Saline.
basically they use lidocaine drops, but it's under a controlled environment. So I teach our students that if you're going to do eyeliner, you have to also realize that if you did by mistake, if some got in the eye, you flush it, as
Right,
long as you're not having burning. But remember, you're also in control of the eye now because the sensitivity of the eye's gone down a little bit. So you have to be very careful that you're cleaning the eye constantly. I mean, we go flush it like probably 10, 12 times while we're working on eyeliner. And I've never had a problem in 10 years with an eye being a problem. So if you use correctly, right,
right,
and
right.
and you know,
Careful.
and having proper training on how to do the eye area, then you can definitely, use around the eye and stuff like that. But like you said, you don't want to get it in the eye.
Well, then that's that's a great instructional also. Of course they should be if they're working around the eyes, they should be constantly flushing the eye. And
Yep.
what would be better to use than saline, than eye
Right.
drops?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Exactly. That's what I use. I
perfect.
use saline flush. And the reason why I bring this up is because there's other products that have come on the market, especially promoted by, famous PMU artists, and they're telling people, oh, it's perfectly safe for the eye. And I'm sitting here just going, oh my gosh, like you got to know what you're doing. And there was a product that I was using for a while that I think came close to being what you would consider, you call it pH balance. It just didn't, it didn't hurt if some of it got a little bit in the eye. And anyway, it's off the market now. I don't know why, but
I know
you just have to be really
it's a
careful.
dermatologist. Some woman who's a dermatologist made it. I
Yeah, there was
forgot.
that one, and then there was the IEZ by Face and Body that had been around for a long time. I'm not sure what happened, but they had one that I really liked just because it was a gel and it would stay in place. It didn't
Yeah,
creep. And
sure.
so anyway, the eye, you just have to be careful, make sure you know what you're doing, get trained. If you have any questions, ask me on how I do it, but I've never had a problem because I'm very careful. Anyway, I love this product, you guys. You've got to get a hold of this, buy the packets. So you have it. So you have the large size and then you have the mini ones, right? So the
Yeah,
ones that
we have a lidocaine sachet. The brand name is Neuromed.
Neuromed,
Neuromed meaning nerve
yeah,
medicine.
nerve
So
medicine.
we have the Neuromed 7, which is the lidocaine 4%. That's in the sachet. We
Yeah,
have we also have one or two because there are people just insisted
right.
people
They
were buying
wanted
the
to.
two. So, yeah, they wanted to. That's it.
Yeah,
Then we have the BLT, like you said, all three together. The large size is 10 grams, which just happens to be the perfect size for face and decollete area. So
yeah,
they're doing a full face microneedling and neck. That 10 grams just
yeah.
happened to work on the face, and that's the right amount.
It
We
works
also
perfect.
have a combination 5 gram, some more for permanent makeup when you're working in smaller areas. Now you don't have a whole bunch of wasted product.
Right,
10
right.
grams is a whole lot more than you're going to need for a permanent makeup procedure.
Yeah,
So the
absolutely.
5 gram would be ideal. And just like you're pointing out, um, if they are doing eye procedures, it might be a good idea. They could get one box of the BLT for certain the other areas, eyebrows and all that. lips and the other areas. And then they can get just the lidocaine alone, just for the eye area. And just so you know,
Yeah.
pH does matter.
Mhm.
Our pH is the same as distilled water. So,
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah. And
we say
that's
between
something,
6.8 and 7.2.
I love that. So then because that's something I always worried about, having done lots of eyeliner, that the things out there that people are buying and putting on the eyes, and they're not, trained, or they're not aware of what can go wrong. It's, you got to be really careful. So that's great to know. So I'm going to start showcasing that is the pH of the distilled water. That's perfect. And
Yeah, and if you'd like, we can I can get you the manufacturer safety data sheet too. All the information
yeah,
on
I
is
could
there.
add that in the link below for those that want to read. Well, Mike, thank you so much. I don't want to eat up more of your time. This has
My
been so
pleasure.
great. So
Thank you.
again, everybody, I want to bring you behind the scenes of the people that start these businesses, the CEOs that start it and own it, so you can really get to know them. I think people really love to know who's behind the brand, right? What your philosophy is, what do you believe in, and Mike is a stand-up guy. He goes by the rules. I've been using him as a reference for many years on understanding anesthetics and getting the okays and understanding the complex legality of it all. And I've learned a ton. He's a great resource, a great supporter of the beauty industry and the medical aesthetics. I mean, 100%. So we'll go ahead. And so I'm going to put the links below so you can go check out the products and start getting on board with the NeuroMed, so you can, have better with your anesthetics with your clients. And again, Mike, thanks so much. And,
Thank you, Don.